What's going on, YouTube? Backyard, back at it again. Today, we're working on a few things. One of the things we're going to show you, uh, some stuff we've already gotten done, just go over it a little bit, and then some stuff we're doing today. Want to put out, some different content, but at the same time, start showing what we're actually doing and not just these little how-to snippet video stuff. But for today, we are in process of getting ready to powder coat some parts that we made. Any of you guys that have the late 90s, I think into early 2000 Lincolns, Mercuries. If you've tried juicing one, you crawl underneath it and you go, whoa, wait a minute, this don't look normal. It's got the 4-link bars set up as a parallel instead of a triangulated like a G-body or your traditional GMs, even some of the later Lincolns, early 90s, they have triangulated. But as it got a little newer, Ford Lincoln Mercury wanted to try something different. So they came up with a parallel 4-link, and instead of having a pannered bar, they did what's called a Watts link. It has a pivot in the center with 2 bars, one that runs to the left, one that runs to the right, and in the middle, in that pivot section, there's one bar that hooks above the pivot, one that hooks below it, to where as the rear end raises up and down on a traditional pannered bar setup like the older Impalas, as the rear end went up, pannered bars here for ride height. Car was never meant to do anything but ride height. We get them, we cut them up, we raise them to the sky, and as the rear end goes down, it pulls the rear end over. As it comes down, it pushes it back where it's supposed to be. A Watts link utilizes parallel arms, run straight forward to back. Then it uses a Watts link. It has a bar in the middle where when this one comes over and bolts on, this one comes down, bolts on. As it raises, the pivot does this so that the bars spread out, come together, but it keeps the rear end straight. On the air ride vehicles, a lot of the suspension that we'll incorporate on those, a Watts link's a good idea. You run a wide wheel on the back, minimal clearance to the fender wells, can't have any side-to-side movement, Watts links work really well. In a lowrider system, the Watts link has limitations. And Ford Lincoln Mercury's link/Watts link system is about the thinnest crap I've ever seen in my life. I think when my kids were growing up, some of their little electric, like Tonka cars, probably were built better than the link system that Ford Lincoln Mercury came out with in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I'm going to show you that here in a minute. But we, knowing that the car that we were working on wasn't going for extreme lift. He wanted a decent lift in the back, a little bit more than your lay and play 8-inch in the front, 8-inch in the rear for cylinders. On these systems, I don't recommend keeping the factory Ford Lincoln Mercury stuff underneath there. It's too flimsy. you start lifting it up and really working that system, it's going to bend, it's going to buckle, it's going to tear apart. We came up with a much beefier design that works wonderfully up to a 12-inch cylinder. No going past 12 with this system. It will take that Watts link, and at a high lockup point, it will start fighting itself in the pull. When it gets to a point where it can't pull anymore, the only option it has is that center pivot, pulling it out, breaking it off. But up to a 12, it'll work great. So let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. This is the factory crap that they had in. That is maybe 1/8 inch all the way. This car was not juiced when it came in. That was from the factory. Like, yeah, that held up really well. Anybody tell me what that would have done if it was juiced? That would have been toast in a couple of days. This is the parallel pieces. Your lower one, which yes, they did put a little, brake in it that's supposed to help with strength, but man, there ain't no strength to these. I bet you if I chalked this up on something right now and jumped up and down on this, I could bend it. Those are the Watts link arms. Those are even worse. And actually, even being factory, not juiced yet, that bushing's already tweaked. That one's still straight. Tweaked. 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 And then they thought it would be smart to, let's cut some holes in these ones, factory. Guess they didn't think that was going to cause strength issues. But on a car, in their defense, that's not supposed to move up and down a lot, I guess that's sufficient. But when we come in, we beef things up. DOM tube, heim joints, weld-in bungs into the DOM, TIG welded around by Caden, and then plug welded. And then we have one of the bars out right now, but to give you an idea on this little system, so this is the Watts. So this thing moves this way and moves this way as it goes up and down. This one runs over and runs up to a mount. The other side at the top runs over and goes to a mount. That's the bar that's out right now, and I'll show you here in a minute what we're doing with that. But this system, much beefier. That stuff ain't bending, it ain't breaking. Our Watts link bars aren't bending and breaking. Now we did go in and put the bends in these that were needed on these two, just like those had. What that's for, on the passenger side, it has to clearance the exhaust. So when this one comes, it loops down and up to where when the rear end goes all the way down, it still clears it. This one, as you can see, drops this way. Nothing's in the way of that one. So, little link system that we had put together that today is getting some attention. So, anybody want a Pepsi? This is our powder coating oven. Right now, we've got one of them in there that had to be prepped. So we got it all prepped. We de-ate it, and let me flip you back around here. All right. We de-ate it, and then we take acetone to it wipe it down with acetone to get any grease, oils, any of that off, and it goes into the oven. It'll go in there for about 20 minutes, Caden, at 400 degrees to bake off any other contaminants it might have in the metal. You know, a lot of these metals have oil in the metal from what the metal suppliers do when they make this stuff to keep it from rusting from when they make it, put it on their shelf, then load it up, drive it wherever it's going to a distributor, then the distributor puts it on their shelf. It might sit there until then it gets bought and comes to people like us. So those contaminants need to come off. I think it's been in there 5-10 minutes. It's going to be coming out here in a minute, and we'll show you the step to getting the powder on it, getting it put back in the oven, and then there's a certain amount of time that it has to be in there for that powder to turn from what looks like a powder kind of satin rough finish. It will melt down, smooth out, and be smooth, shiny, depending on the powder. You can get satin powders, you can get gloss powders, you can get powders that are transparent like candies. You can, I mean, the sky's the limit on powder. And we'll show you what we're going to do with this one to spruce up the underside of this car. These are the last parts. And this car's hopefully going to be together tonight and ready to go. We'll do another video on this one once we get these parts in and get the rear end stuff all bolted down. Then we'll bring it down off the lift. We'll show you guys the trunk, what we did there. Did a pretty nice little 3-pump setup. Did some custom stereo in it. Anybody that's got, you know, Ford Lincoln Mercury knows when you put 8 batteries and pumps in there, you don't have a lot of room for stereo, but we made it work. It's cool. Actually sounds really good. I'm gonna flip you around real quick and show you. So Caden pulled it out of the oven. Now it's gonna sit there for a few minutes and cool down. It's gotta be, I believe it 100 degrees or less. 100 degrees or less. So 100 degrees or less. What he actually, Caden, rock star. Anybody knows him, rock star. Kid can do anything. He's actually taught me more about this powder coating stuff. I didn't know it. When we got into it, me and him had discussed it. I had an opportunity from a buddy of mine that had a really nice system and a lot of powder, and this little custom oven that we've got. And we went down and picked it up. Caden started doing his thing, man. He researching, reading, watching, getting informed. And like we do here at Backyard, if there's something we haven't done before, we'll play around with it on our own stuff first. I'm not going to do stuff for a customer if I don't know it's gonna last, it's gonna hold up. So we guinea pig our stuff, and he did. He built a 4-pump juice Subaru that's all over the internet. Powder coated a ton of stuff on that, in his engine bay, hydraulic rack, I mean, you name it, he did it, and got very good at it, and then started teaching me. You know, I'm 3 times his age, but hey, if he can teach me something new, I'm ready to absorb it. Like, show me, let's do it. So I'm gonna flip you around real quick. He is getting some stuff set up here, and I'm gonna show you what we got going. So we have a little system that it is a gun that this little jar holds your powder. You put your powder in it, it comes out the gun. It's got a lead that goes back. You have a ground wire that comes off of the machine. This is your main machine. This is the power to it. It comes down. You ground either what you're hooked to or to the piece. We have a special plug put in it that isn't affected by the heat. This stuff has to sit in that oven and essentially bake and cure at 400 degrees for, I believe it's 10 minutes. Each powder's a little different. Wherever you order it from, they will tell you how long to leave it in for once it reaches. Okay, so this is something that I got confused by, that Caden had to school me on. So I read a bag one day, I'm trying some powder, and it said cure time 10 minutes. I put the part in, get it cooked, get it hot, get everything baked off, get it out, let it go down to 100 degrees, put the powder on it, stick it in, and waited 10 minutes, pulled it out. Looked good. I'm like, heck yeah, I did it. Sweet. Caden gets home from school. This was when he was still in high school. Comes home from school, and I said, check it out, man. I powder coated this. He's like, yeah, looks pretty good. How long did you leave it in for? I said, well, the bag said 10 minutes, so I left it in for 10 minutes. He said, did you leave it in for 10 minutes after the part got to temperature? No. The oven was at 400. I put the part in with the powder on it. I put it in for the 10 minutes it said. I pulled it out. He said, it's not cured. It's not gonna hold. It has to be in there for a certain amount of time at the temperature on the part, not just the oven. He took I think a wrench or a hammer or something. He walked over and whacked right against the part I just powder coated, and it cracked. He goes, see? Wasn't cured. You would have put that on, it would have got some flex, or it would have had a rock hit it. It would have done exactly what it just did when I dinged it with the wrench. Well, crap. So had to be stripped back down and done properly. So I learned something new that day. So when you put the part in, you put it in your oven, and this one has a setup where it tells you, how hot it is, what temperature it is supposed to be. Right now it's a little high because we had it set at 400 to bake off all the oils. Now this powder calls for 350. So he's letting that drop down a little, letting that cool down a little. He's going to get ready to put some powder on this here in a minute. And then we're going to show you what this stuff does. But again, so powder coating, let's talk about that. Options when guys want stuff looking nice. They have options. Hold on just a sec. Anybody knows me, gotta get my bean in. Shout out to Monster, y'all keep me going. All right, so you have options. You don't want to leave this stuff that we make raw metal. It's going to rust. As it rusts, it's no different than when you buy a car, it's got rust. It's going to rust and fall apart. Definitely don't want any of that happening when you're building these kind of cars and putting them through the abuse we do. So, options. Your do-it-yourself or your guy doing his own stuff, learning his own stuff, man, at least put a little bit of rattle can primer or self-etch primer and some paint on it. Get it locked in to kind of keep the weather away. You can get a decent look that way if you take your time. Next option that a lot of people are going for this day and age is they send stuff off and get it chrome plated, gold plated. They go as far as having parts engraved first and then chromed or gold. Powder coating is a very viable option. You get color options. They make powders now that they don't 100% mimic gold and chrome, but you can get pretty darn close. Caden powder coated a set of wire wheels that were a little on the rough side. He cleaned them up, prepped them up, and sprayed them in a what's called translucent gold. So when you spray a translucent color over chrome or over a mirroring effect, let's say silver, it will give you the effect of it looking like gold or chrome plating. It has a slight little variant. We've learned some tricks. Normally when you shoot this stuff, they have you do another step after that to kind of lock it in and seal it in. A lot of the time when you do that, it will take a beautiful mirrored look or gold-plated look, and it kind of takes that mirroring effect away and kind of starts swinging it back to looking a little more silver or a little more, let's call it rattle can gold instead of plate gold. But there's some tricks you can do and some stuff that we've learned and play with where you can get it where if you set it side by side and didn't tell anybody, you're going to have somebody that really knows say, man, that's close, but it ain't chrome plated, or that's close, but it ain't gold plated. Then you're going to get people that are going to go, man, I love it. You can't hardly tell. And I mean, under some of these cars, now I'm not saying your full-blown show car going to lowrider super show that sits on a turntable with lights and everything under it. Those guys, shout out to you, man. You guys spend a lot of money on that shiny stuff under them cars. But for a street rider, for a guy that just wants a nice looking car that he's going to go out and ride all the time, powder coat looks really nice. It's durable if done right. It holds up if done right. And actually, if it gets a problem, it is easier to fix than a chrome plated or gold plated part that would now have to be stripped, repolished, redipped, just to get it back the way it was. And any of us that have had chrome plating stuff or gold plated stuff, it sucks. Sometimes, you get your parts back, say you're putting bushings in a set of arms, and you're pressing the bushing in, it stresses the chrome, cracks the chrome. It happens. Something that helps with that, if you leave it that way, water will get under it. It will start to make the chrome separate from the copper or from the metal, and it'll start flaking. If you get in a situation where you're pressing bushings in or ball joints in and you get a spot where you have cracked the plating, go get a little bit of clear fingernail polish, brush a little bit of clear fingernail polish over the cracked area or the little chipped area. You just want to lock in to where moisture can't get underneath that and make it worse. It's not a perfect solution, but man, I don't know about you, but you go to a chrome plater, you give them $500 for some arms, you get home, you press the bushings in, you chip or start to flake your chrome. You're not wanting to push that bushing back out, go back to the chromer and say, hey, I just screwed up the $500 worth of work you did. Can you charge me to take all this off and redo it? Now it's costing you more than $500. And you're a rider. You want to get out on the street. You want to get riding. So you might say, you know what? I'll readdress this next season. But for this season, let's get this car together and get it rolling. Little clear fingernail polish brushed on. It'll get you by for a while. And it doesn't look horrible. You don't go excessive. You don't brush it on like you're painting the house. Just a little bit to seal up that area that cracked or chipped to keep water from getting in. Back to the powder coating side. So a powder coat, again, if it's set up right, if it's cured right, it's just as durable as a set of powder coated wheels. We drive down the interstate all the time on powder coated wheels, no chipping, no flaking. Over time, if you don't take care of stuff, anything can fault. But it gives you a heck of a shot of having some really nice stuff underneath the car. Soap and water, clean up. You don't have to spend hours underneath there with multiple rags and Windex and chrome polish and gold polish and whatever. Wash it, clean it, dry it. So it's an option. It's an option we offer here, and we do quite a bit for people. We do paint stuff too, with automotive paint, self-etch primer, high build primer, sand it, base coat it, clear coat it. It is not as strong as powder coat, but another option that looks really, really nice. Good buddy of mine, also customer. We did a car for Vince. We did a beautiful 63 Impala for him, and we tried a new process. I brought in one of these companies' product that was you can turn anything chrome, and it's real chrome, and it looks like chrome. And hey, you know what? Kinda. The prep work to doing that system is ridiculous. You start with a part. Let's say you have a rear end housing, which we did, and it came out from under a 63 Impala from 1963. You cannot sandblast it, because if you do, you make it very rough. Then you have to get rid of that roughness and get it smooth to do anything. So we degreased it, we sanded it, degreased it, sanded it. We sanded it all the way to 800 grit wet. Then I base coated it in black, and then wet sanded it again, 800. Every nook, cranny, crevice of this thing, along with the backing plates, along with the third member that bolts onto the front that is cast iron, that no matter what you do, it's still rough. So we self-etch primered, high build primered, sanded it, high build primered, sanded it, so on and so forth until it was smooth. We got everything black, high gloss, mirror black. That's the stage it needs to be at before you put this chrome paint coating on. Then you'll hit every dollar store known to man to buy distilled water that has to go with this chemical. As this chemical's getting sprayed on through a gun, it's also spraying a certain amount of one chemical and another chemical onto the part. As soon as you start spraying it on, it goes kind of a funky yellow, and certain parts will start to look like it's getting shiny. You stop, you grab a different gun that is distilled water, gallons at a time, rinse it off, spray again your chrome solution, stop, rinse it off. You do this over and over and over until you get a chrome finish. You go a little too far, now you've burned it. You're screwed. Got to stop, rinse it, let it dry. Then they tell you to go and get bleach, and take bleach and distilled water and wipe all of what you just did off back to your black base coat and do it again. We did a rear end. Did it look like chrome from a foot away? Yes. 5 foot away? Yes. 6 inches away, you start seeing spots where you see that yellowing, that burning. I couldn't let it pass. It's like, I mean, yes, it's going underneath the car. Yes, nobody's ever going to get that close to it, but you know what? I was. And I just couldn't do it. So me and him had discussion, and he's like, man, I'm going to be honest with you. That gloss black you did before the chrome process was tried looked amazing. So we sanded it back down, 800 did it again, reshot it gloss black. Man, the underside of that car, that rear end looked amazing. Looked like you were looking in a black mirror. There's some pictures on the backyard Facebook page of the rear end of that car, and there's some pictures of that rear end when we did chrome it. In the pictures, it looks like chrome rear end. It looks like chrome backing plates. I mean, it was as chrome as you could get with that paint process. But, so, back to powder coating, back to painting, you have options. There's stuff that can be done to snazz up, dress up the bottom sides of these cars, top sides, what have you. Paint is an option. Rattle can, automotive, whatever you choose to use. Just go through the proper steps. You know, prep it out, sand it, do the steps. You'll get a nice finish. And if you don't, guess what? You can sand it some more and try it again until you figure it out. On the powder coating side, I think we're about ready here because I'm rambling. I was just buying some time while... Oh, he's sitting there shaking his head at me. He's thinking it's still just a little hot. So what he'll do, we have this fancy tool, you know, that will kind of tell us. You pull the trigger, you wait for the little dot, and it's telling me it's 80 degrees. But you come up here towards the end, now it's like, oh, wait a minute, we're 125 up here at the top. We get down here to the bottom, and lo and behold, I mean, it's a little cooler at the bottom. But you want to get it pretty close to that 100. Which it's almost there. You guys are going to see it here in a minute. But, so... we discussed a little bit today of an option that some of you guys that have these Ford Lincoln Mercuries, remember us. We have an option for you that you don't have to go and buy the big high dollar long travel kits that a lot of guys offer. There's nothing wrong with them. They work well. They are a little more fabricator and labor intensive to do those because it does reposition, and you have to make new mounts for the lower trailing arm. You have to make a different mounting system to create that triangular upper link system. This system that we just came up with, when we're done with it, it's bolt in. You could unbolt one piece at a time. One lower, bolt ours in. One upper, bolt ours in. Go to the other side. One lower, bolt it in. One upper, bolt it in. Then you do one of your Watts link bars, bolt it in. Pull the last one, bolt it in. You have the system I just showed you. Very strong, very durable, much better than the stock garbage that was in there. And it'll hold up and it'll withstand what we do with these things. Up to a 12-inch cylinder. Remember that. 12's max on this system. If you want more than 12, you want high lockup, go see one of the guys for the long travel kits. That's what you're going to have for this car. But we have tested these up to a 12-inch cylinder. You now have adjustability. All of ours is set up with adjustable heims, so it is adjustable trailing arms. So when we set this up, we measured it out. We have good pinion angle all the way locked up. We have good pinion angle all the way down. No vibration, no noise, no anything. It works well from down to 12 inches of lockup, or 12-inch cylinder worth of lockup, which we all know is really truly more than that if you're measuring from the ground to the bottom of the car. But it works well, and it is something we can do for you, and we can build one, send it to you raw, where you could send it out and get it chromed with a place maybe where you're at, or if you want to paint it to match the car, or if you want it powder coated, we have options. If you don't have somebody that can chrome plate, we can get that done for you. On that is something I outsource. So I tell anybody that wants chrome plating done, that's out of my hands. I can tell you the day that we get it to them. Until I get the phone call of them saying it's done, that part's out of my hands. That is as long as it takes them to do. And then they are an hour drive from me. So if we had parts at the chromer for a month and he called today and said, I got your parts done, I might not be able to go get them until tomorrow. I might be in the middle of doing a YouTube video or actually doing some work. So on that, it's an option, but I let you know I can't guarantee time frame on golden chrome plating. That part's out of my hands until I get the call saying it's done. Uh, in doing that system, it alleviates the bushing problem that I showed you. In a stock arm that was not juiced yet, was just driving as a stock car, it already had bad bushings. The Heims are high end. They are built to where they don't have to be greased. They have special pieces inside that let them move freely and do what they need to do for a very long period of time. They would outlast a rubber bushing or a polyurethane bushing 5 times over. Very strong, very durable. Like I said, the tubing we use high quality DOM. So it's going to be stout. This car, we're 2 pumps to the rear, 4 batteries to each rear pump. She's pretty violent when she comes up. I mean, you could hop the back of this car. System holds up and works just fine. So, giving you a little bit of knowledge on these systems, you can use them. They can work, and they do work well with some upgrades and a certain length cylinder. That being said, something else with these cars. So we did a very mild frame arch reinforcement on this one, but on the Ford Lincoln Mercuries, they have a really goofy design of what they do with these brake lines. If you juice one of these cars, this tab is normally bolted up here on the frame. Well, even I think at an 8-inch cylinder, this hose is tighter than all get out. You go to a 10, yeah, it's going to rip off. You go to a 12, it's definitely going to rip off. So we made a cool little tab, dropped it down to where when it's at full lockup, it's still got just a little bit of give. When it goes down, it's out of the way. It doesn't have this line flopping around. You see a lot of these that guys, they will unbolt them, but they just let them hang. And when it locks up, they pull tight. When it drops down, they just kind of flop around. And man, that's a brake line. For me, that needs to stay in one place to where it doesn't get caught on something. It doesn't get pinched on something. And safety. Safety, reliability, functionality, all plays a part in these cars. I think we're probably about ready on this thing. Let me see here. I'm gonna come over and yeah, I think we're good, but I just had my hand on it. So, all right, well, I'm gonna stand back a little bit, get out of the way, and I'm gonna let Caden do what he does with this thing and kind of show you the step here. So he's put the powder in the cup, put the cup on the gun. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you, that little booger right there sticking out of the end, okay? So this creates a charge from the ground to when this powder comes out, it charges the powder and it makes the powder kind of suck like a magnet to the metal. When you let off the trigger, all this still is charged. Don't touch that booger for any reason unless you've turned the gun off. See that face? Yeah, he's done it.
You've done it.
I've done it. It shocks the hell out of you. But anyway, so he's getting ready to make this thing get some powder on. So as you can see, as he's spraying it, it is just, it's sucking that stuff right on. He kind of goes around, he checks it out. Do you need me to grab the light? Or are you good? Okay, he's got better eyesight than me. Yeah, I got glasses now. I'm getting old. I don't wear them as much as I'm supposed to, but hey, I need to be able to see sometimes. But what he's doing now is, so he's gone in and he's checking the consistency of the powder on this to make sure it's coated completely. And then he turns the machine off, unhooks the ground, I'm gonna come over here and get the door for him. I'm gonna open up the oven here. Whew. It's cold outside, but it's warm in there. So like I said, so now it's got the powder on it. It's hung in there. We're closing the door up. I believe this powder said it was, let's see here, needs to be 350 degrees. So we're going to put it in there for a few minutes and let it get up to temperature. Once it gets to temperature, remember, the part needs to be to temperature. So that's where that cool little doodad that we have works. Now, it doesn't always work great, because if you have something that has like reflective powders, it makes it a little bit harder to be able to check temperature on it, because it actually reflects back on the gun and it gives you a wrong reading. So we've learned that, you know, when it gets up to a certain point in a certain amount of time, we might give it an extra 3, 4, 5 minutes just to be safe. You can have it in there longer and not hurt what you're doing as much as if you didn't leave it in there long enough and didn't get it to fully cure, like we discussed earlier. A mistake I made. Trying to help you guys not make the mistakes I've made. But, so pay attention to, I'll show you here on the one that we're using. I'm going to cover up part because I'm going to keep that part a secret for a minute. But we got Columbia Coatings. Cure schedule, 15 minutes at 350 degrees. Metal temperature. See, metal temperature. Mill thickness 2.5 to 3.5. So, on the mill thickness, they make some stuff where you can kind of gauge that. Honestly, spray that booger till it has a nice good coat to it. Run over it with a light if you need to. Make sure that it consistently coated. Put her in the oven. I'm going to talk here for just a few more minutes just so I can show you kind of what it looks like after it's been in there a few minutes. And then we'll do another video where you'll actually get to see these parts done in the car. We'll show you what they looked like actually installed. Give you a quick run around of what we did in the trunk. You know, we did on this one, we didn't go crazy and pull the factory upper Ford Lincoln Mercury arms off and switch over to caddy arms. He just wanted a slight extension, so we did the traditional spoons that most everybody does on it. First hole, not a massive kick out, but just a little bit. Did rear end reinforcement, did partial arch, and then did the system in the rear for the rear suspension to be strong enough that it's going to last as a good little street cruiser, lay and play a little more. But a nice car. Keep an eye out for it rolling down the road. It's going to be another one on the street. But just wanted to show you today, you know, give you guys a little bit of info on this system, and then talk a little bit about some of the other stuff that we do. You know, in this shop, there's not a lot of stuff that we outsource. We're only a two-man show, but we build most everything. Control arms, we do in-house. Trailing arms, we do in-house. Link systems, we do in-house. C-notches. If you look over here, this is a plethora of stock arms that we'll start with, and we build off of those. You know, cantilever setups for the airbag guys. You know, we build those. We build most everything in house. Other than coil springs. Yep. I don't have a way to do those. We buy them. Uh, you know, hydraulic setups. We do buy a lot of our parts. You know, CCE dealer. We deal with high-low. We deal with a couple other places, and we look at the other guys too. I mean, I'm one of those that if a customer calls me and he has a preference and he says, "Hey, man, I'd like to go with the setup from this company," we'll get it for him. One of the things that we've run into, in probably the last, I'd say, 3-4 years, and it's nothing against these companies, because a lot of these companies, yes, a lot of them do build a lot of their stuff, but there is stuff that they still get as well from other places, and some of that quality has gone down. The downside to that is, like for me, as a company that will get those parts for you and then install them for you, more times lately than I can count, we've run into some problems of new parts being defective, being bad. And in this hydraulic game, you know, these companies, they basically tell you, you know, we know you're buying it to throw a bunch of batteries at it, to hit the switch a million times, to beat on it. You know, it's what we do. We beat on them. So they don't warranty stuff. Guy like me, order you a whole bunch of stuff, take all the time to do all the work, put everything in, do everything that's needed to put it in. You go through testing to, sweet man, this car's almost done, the customer can come get it. Start doing the testing. Man, you hit that switch, zing! Uh-oh. Pump head, or motor, or keyway, or it goes up but it comes back down. Brand new parts. It happens. You know, it happens. I wish it didn't happen as much as it does, because I might have to call and tell the customer, hey, you know, we had a part issue. We're going to address it. We're going to fix it. But what I didn't say was, hey, you bought a kit that I can't get any warranty love on, and a piece of it's already broke. So, hey, I need more money from you to order more parts. I don't do that. My margin on what I make off of the actual products is almost nothing. Very, very, very minimal. I will get the stuff so that I can put it in for you. But when we hit those problems where something ends up being bad, I eat it. I get the stuff to get the job done, get it completed. That's why we started branching into, you know, we now have our own blocks, our own tanks, our own backing plates. We are in the works of designing and building our own pump head, our own dump. Now, dumps, I mean, the cartridge, the O-rings, you know, there's still parts that have to come from other places, but it's finding one of those companies that has a good quality product that we can put in with our stuff to put it together to make it as reliable as possible, is what we've tried to do. And I mean, our pumps work great. Caden's car is one of our pumps, single to the nose. It's on the YouTube, on one of the shorts. It's the Black Monte Carlo. Single pump to the front, 10 battery, no weight. You know, all gate, no weight. That's that car. There's no extra weight, no what us old schoolers call the cheating happening. It's pump, fluid, springs. It's set up to work and do what it does, and the pump does its job. No piston. It's, I guess, what you would call a competition pump. No piston, no bladder, but it works well. Going to show you here real quick. He's opening the door, so going to kind of. So it's still flowing out, but oh, lucky. What does that look like, people? What's that look like? Looks like shiny stuff. So, all right. You guys got the sneak peek. So, we're going to get the rest of these parts done. Caden's going to finish getting this stuff coated so we can get those pieces put back together and get the stuff bolted back into that car. I'm going to get ready to jump off of here. I've got a 65 up at our other shop calling my name. I got to go do some stuff too. So I'm going to jump off of here for today. Hope you guys got a little informed. If nothing else, gave you something to watch while you was bored. You know, give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe if you like what you're seeing. There's going to be a lot more. We're going to be doing a lot more on here. Not all the time. Some of these, so the first couple I wanted to get on, I wanted to talk a little bit, I wanted to discuss a little bit, let people get to know me that don't know me. But there's going to be some coming up that aren't going to be a lot of talking. Just giving you a heads up. That's going to be the videos of me working on something, Caden working on something. Might be an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 8 hour. Hey, we'll figure out what everybody likes. And everybody comment. Tell me what you like. I mean, tell me, hey, I want to see you working on a car for 8 hours. I'll sit there and watch it for 8 hours. Okay, we'll give you what you want. But like I told you in the last video, we're going to start showing you what it takes to do these cars. So there's going to be videos coming up of watching me work on customers' rides, watching Caden work on customers' rides, and we're just going to park the camera and let you watch what happens in the day. Watch it. We're go all day long. We might take 20-30 minute break at lunch, maybe. Caden more so than me. I don't really eat lunch. Again, shout out to Monster. Keeps me going. Hopefully they see this and realize that I buy so many of these. Maybe they should send me some. Hook your boy up. But anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna get up to the other shop and get to work on other stuff I need to do. But we appreciate you. We hope you're liking what you're seeing. There's going to be a lot more. But check out the shorts. You know, we've got the shorts. We've got the regular videos. We're going to have some long videos coming up. Like I said, probably not a lot of talking, more hearing the music in the background, hearing the grinders and the welders and, you know, paint stuff going, powder stuff going, just getting to see what's happening. And for my customers, getting to see what's happening. So thank y'all. We appreciate it. Like I said, if you're starting to like what we're doing, like, subscribe, follow, check out our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We got it all. It's all there. Backyard Southern Customs. Check us out. Y'all have a good day. It's Friday. Have a good weekend. We'll probably do a video tomorrow. We're taking one to a customer tomorrow. He's ready for it. I'm ready for him to have it. So we'll probably do a little video on that tomorrow as I take the ride down. About an hour and 30, hour and 45 minute ride. And guess what? I built it. I trust it. I called him and said, can I bring it? Drive it? Hell yeah. Cool. I'm driving it. I'm taking the ride. So y'all probably get to see that tomorrow. But for today, have a good day. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to go up and get to work on this other one. Have a good one.